able to breathe again, and of course usher them into school, prepare them for the new academic year, and have amazing conversations with your children that will steer them into the right direction. Now, speaking about the 90 days of January, we also had a lot this month. By 90 days of January, it is usually a joke because after the festivities of December, many people spend so much money, and by the time January starts, many people are broke. So the January that is 31 days usually feels like 90 days. That's when the 90 days of January was coined. But I would like to know, Chantal, good morning.
Good morning, Olive. How are you today?
I am great. Now, speaking about the 90 days of January, have you felt them? Or you're the planned child that has financial discipline and your January was just fine?
Well, I choose to work with a different mindset. January has only 31 days to me, and it's actually, it has really moved quite well. And I'm choosing to look at the positives of everything. It comes with its parts, but I pulled through. Today is 31st, so I'm good. About being a planned child, I'm planning to have planned kids.
That sounds like a vague answer, but I'll go with it. Anyway, this January also, we had a lot to do as a country. We had summits against summits, summits over summits. We were able to host the Non-Aligned Movement Summit in this month of January, and also the G77 plus China Summit. But also we had the Women in Agribusiness Summit, and of course a business summit that happened, and then the IGAD. We had so much, and as a country, this has put us on the world map in many ways than one. Good morning, Jerome Paul.
Good morning, Monica, and good morning to you, our dear viewer. You've mentioned the summits. I think you've also forgotten the one for the speakers. Was it a summit?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the very first of the year, actually.
Conference.
Yes. I think that one is also one of those that we took seriously as a country. So it was a back-to-back, and we were successful at hosting all of those ones. January has been a good one for me in terms of how fast I've been able to create, how should I even put it? Friendships, friendships, and I've met different people, viewers, and of course, I think it is a month that has given me an outlook of how 2024 is going to be, and I do expect
it's going to be a good year.
It's going to be a good year.
Wow.
And besides it being a good year, this is the last week where parents are going to be a little bit relaxed. The coming week, most of them are attacking schools.
Actually, they're not relaxed right now. Because if the balances are not in the bank, then they are not sleeping right now.
But I do believe every parent out there will walk throughout this month of February. The first 2 weeks of the month of February will be a walkthrough for them with hope and faith. And I wish all the parents all the best in conquering the school fees tension and of course the school requirements tension. But as of now, it's a good morning.
And the growing school requirements.
Yeah. And well, you did mention of who we are crushing on today. I will definitely crush on Lucy Nachobe, the chairperson of the organizing committee for the Non-Aligned Movement. When I interacted with some of the people who are close to her, they apparently said she's a very serious woman when it comes to doing her duties. And we all know once a woman is actually put into a position of that magnitude, what is at stake. And then normally it's always the tough that always make a way or prevail. So I want to say I'm crushing on her and all the women in such positions, whether you are the chairperson of a circle, because at this time round, many of the people who are serving in circles are going to be looking for their money because the month is coming to an end and they're supposed to be taking their children back to school. So any woman in a position of a chairman, or let's say a chairperson, and you're the chairwoman of any committee, whether it's a wedding committee, I pretty much crush on you today.
We should also crush on women that are treasurers, because we know that in most cases it's the treasurers that run away with our money. But anyway, speaking of January, still the NRM government was also celebrated 38 years since liberation. NRM took power back in 1986, and on Friday last week, the 26th of January, they celebrated 38 years in power. 38 years of peace and security and a lot of achievements over the years. Now, I remember Chirabo that day saying, unfortunately, I wasn't there. All the stories I hear, all the stories I know are told to me by my parents. Also, I was also not there, but from what my mom shared when I was growing up, I think we have had a good run, really, and we should not take that for granted. Good morning, Mr. Chirabo. Chirabo wasn't there, apparently.
And now you see this kid over here. Oliver.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning. What do they want to do to you this morning?
I heard him talk about how this week is very good. Parents are going to be relaxed, and I was like,
in the coming weeks,
After
the tension will go down.
I was like, but so
They're not relaxing this week.
This is called bended knees,
Thank you.
where parents are going to go on bended knees, asking, some parents asking
Yes.
school heads, and then it's the time for the bursars to feel sweet, the school heads to feel sweet, as if they didn't start schools to have students. So it's really a tough week for a number of parents, and if it's not tough on your side, just give the glory to God. And also maybe you've had some good planning or something like that. But also I want to crush on all single mothers. I mean single mothers, not these plastic single mothers, but
they
real
have
single
variations.
mothers. Yes, there are those single mothers, but then there are second wives in another marriage. So it's not, but I'm meaning single mothers that hustle it out completely, and this time they're going to be taking back children to school. I went to school with a number of children who are being paid for school fees by single mothers. And I know what it means because out here there are stories. Those ladies that wake up very early in the markets, and when you ask them, but all the risks you go through, you know, there is no better way to say that you're lionesses in different worlds altogether. So I crush on you, and I also pray for you that it may be very easy for you this time as you're taking back children.
And also, if the fathers are still alive, they should take
No,
on the
I stopped
responsibility.
talking about fathers.
Thank you very much, Chirabo.
I stopped talking about fathers of this generation. Real men like us are very few. You know, are very, very few. Many men today have become either donors, some have become very foolish and silly. I'm sorry to use those words, because on daily basis, I'm so much into church. So on daily basis, you hear stories of these young girls, and you feel bad. And some you're tempted to say, "Give me the number of that man
And I talk to him. Yes.
And I talk to him.
Yes.
And when you make that risk, you're going to be disappointed.
That is very true.
You are a man, but what this man is going to tell you, it's going to disappoint you. There's one who told me, I have so many children, if I'm to pay fees, will I be able to eat?
Well,
So,
this week also
I
brings
crush
us
on
to,
those ladies.
and I crush on single moms as well. It's not easy to be mom and dad, and of course, as a woman, you know you have some responsibilities that are cut out for you from the beginning. One of them is to nurture these children and take care of them and make sure that they are very okay. But then also having to hustle for money and take care of them when their fathers are leaving, that's not an easy thing to do, or an easy road to traverse. But you do what you do, and we commend you for doing that, single mothers. And for the fathers, like Chirabo said, today we are not talking about the fathers that have abandoned their children, but to the children going back to school. It is a beautiful day. Make the best of this week. Get prepared. Please do not give your parents headache on the last day, when now you're starting to look for your shoes, you're starting to look for your books. You have this week to put your affairs in order. And with that, we now delve into the local news.
And we will begin with President Museveni, who said that there is need to consider partnerships that provide solutions. In his message, the president said that other solutions can be provided of solution cases to affordable financing for agriculture, access to market regionally and internationally, and appropriate technology transfer. Museveni said that Uganda's Find Italy Africa Summit a platform for cooperation and partnership in addressing challenges of food security. He said that Uganda counts on Italy during its presidency of the G77 to call upon the G7 members to support Africa's effort in eliminating the existing barriers that negatively affect Africa's progress in development, especially in food security. Kamel Gerib, the president of the European Cooperation Council and Africa and the Middle East, said that they decided to honor President Yoweri Museveni for his tireless efforts to transform Uganda and Africa in general. While receiving the award on behalf of the President, the Prime Minister of Uganda, Right Honorable Robin Anabanja, lauded ICOM for the recognition, while William Ruto, the President of Kenya, said that the entire world should now be focusing on Africa for development.
And moving on, Minister for ICT and National Guidance, Dr. Chris Baryomunsi, has announced that the Cabinet will retable a bill to consider merging government ministries, departments, and agencies. The minister states that the objective of this move is to reduce administrative costs and improve efficacy. Cabinet is slated to retable the bill to effect the rationalization of government agencies with the intent to rearrange agencies and improve efficiency in service delivery. Parliament will have to amend and repeal the laws to allow for the merging of government agencies, especially those formed by an Act of Parliament. This will eliminate duplication of roles and ensure agencies are accommodated into their mother ministries without affecting the status of service delivery. The Minister for ICT and National Guidance, Chris Baryomunsi, says some parallel institutions in government will not be considered in this phase of rearrangements. On the other hand, government plans to relocate persons in Wududa and Elgon areas where they have suffered the floods and landslides to safe areas free from natural calamities. As students return to school, government has reiterated that only licensed and authorized schools are permitted to reopen. Dr. Chris Baryomunsi stated that school leaders considering striking over pay should use civil means to address their grievances rather than impacting the learning of students.
And moving on, National Water and Sewage Corporation has started improving water supply and sanitation for Fort Portal, Hoima and Lila City. This comes after government secured funds from the Agency for French Development, AFD, to expand and renovate the existing water and sewerage facilities in the selected cities. Cities of Fort Portal, Hoima, and Lila have registered a surge in demand for water and sanitation services. But the existing water supply systems are currently processing only 70% of their designed capacity. National Water and Sewage Corporation has contracted a consultant firm to undertake feasibility study for these facilities starting February this year. National Water and Sewage Corporation Managing Director Dr. Engineer Silva Mugisha and Area Manager, the Seshwa Consultants firm, signed a memorandum of understanding to start the project. National Water and Sewage Corporation is implementing water and sanitation infrastructural development project within the 273 towns countrywide.
And moving on, Kampala Lord Mayor Erias Lukwago has met the city leadership, legislators and division mayors to discuss appropriate allocation of the 350 billion shillings that were subsequently recovered from the inflated costs of the $288 million alone from the African Development Bank. The recovered sum will be used to construct additional roads in Kampala and address crucial infrastructure needs. In 2015, the government of Uganda entered into a loan commitment with the African Development Bank to finance the rehabilitation of critical city roads under 5 different lots. The total loan amount was $288 million and was therefore allocated to KCCA to rehabilitate over 30 roads of Kampala. Lord Mayor Arias Lukwago, however, challenged the billions spent on services allocated to these roads, hence triggering a probe into the alleged inflation. The Committee on Physical Infrastructure at Parliament confirmed the recovery of over 350 billion shillings off the inflated units. This recovered sum will be used to construct additional roads in the 5 divisions of Kampala, addressing crucial infrastructure needs, hence the involvement of Kampala's members of parliament and other city leaders. The chairperson of the Kampala Capital City Roads Committee, also member of parliament Nakawa East, Ronald Balimwezo, urged government to increase funding for road rehabilitation. A representative from the technical wing suggested prioritizing critical roads for the allocation of the recovered funds before returning them to the Treasury. Relatedly, the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development provided 20 billion shillings to Kampala Capital City Authority for ongoing city road rehabilitation. The money is part of the 4.9 trillion shillings released for the third quarter of the 2023-24 financial year. Well, that does it for the local news. Now, Chantal Olive takes us through the international news and also climate news.
Crossing over, we start with Israel. Now, more than half of Gaza's buildings have been damaged or destroyed since Israel launched its retaliation for the Hamas attack of 7th October. Detailed before and after imagery also shows how bombardment of the southern and central Gaza has intensified since the start of December, with the city of Khan Yunis bearing much of the brunt of Israel's military action. Israel has repeatedly told Gazans to move south for their own safety. Across Gaza, residential areas have been left ruined, previously busy shopping streets reduced to rubble, universities destroyed, and farmlands churned up, with tent cities springing up on the southern border to house many thousands of people left homeless. About 1.7 million people, more than 80% of Gaza's population, are displaced, with nearly half crammed in the far southern end of the strip, according to the United Nations. Further analysis reveals the scale of destruction of farmland, intensifying multiple areas of extensive damage. The Israel Defense Forces has said it is targeting both Hamas fighters and terror infrastructure when challenged over the scale of damage. Away from that, French President Emmanuel Macron on Tuesday said he wants the European Union to regulate chicken and grain imports from Ukraine and to allow flexibility on some of the bloc's farming rules to help soothe anger among French farmers. Macron, speaking during a state visit to Sweden as farmers packed tractors across highways in France and set bales of hay ablaze to partly block access to the Toulouse airport, also said he does not want a draft trade deal with the Mercosur bloc of Southern American countries to be signed as it stands now. The French protests follow similar action in other European countries, including Germany, Poland, ahead of European Parliament elections in June, in which the far right, from whom farmers represent a growing constituency, is seen making gains. Now, coming back to Africa, 6 students, 3 teachers and a bus driver have been kidnapped by unknown gunmen in southwestern Nigeria. In a statement posted online, the Ekiti state government said victims were attacked in the town of Emure while returning from a road trip on Monday night. State Governor Aboidun Oyebanji said the authorities are determined to get the children and their teachers rescued. Meanwhile, residents are being urged to remain and share any information that could help the search. It is not yet clear who is responsible or whether they have demanded a ransom. Kidnapping for ransom has worsened in Nigeria in recent years, with armed gangs targeting road travelers, students, as well as residents in rural and urban areas across the country. Early on Monday, 50 civil society organizations issued a joint call on President Bola Tinubu to declare a state of emergency regarding the security situation. They said over 1,800 people had been abducted since the president assumed office in May last year. And crossing over to matters climate, although 2024 has just begun, the coming months will determine if COP29 will be a success and whether benefits will trickle down to vulnerable communities in developing countries. The COP29 summit in Baku in November will focus on climate finance. Government negotiators in the global north always tell us that their ambition to finance depends on their parliaments. This has been highlighted by developed countries in so many negotiations. They stress that they have no mandate or possibility to scale up funds as parliaments will not approve. So as parliamentarian debates about budgets and allocations begin early in this year, they need to act now. That is it for climate news and what is happening across different parts of the world.
Well, thank you, Chantal, Olive, Jerome Paul Sonko. What do you have for us this morning in the press review?
Well, from the press review, the copy of the New Vision is highlighting land fraud. Lawyers face staff future as advocates do not provide services in a vacuum, says the court. Now, besides that, President Museveni awarded in Italy. Read about that award in today's New Vision. Then the PLE, 53% of schools have no first grade. That's an alarming report. Then unlicensed schools, government warns owners. Then day 2 of Makerere graduation, a pictorial of the fresh graduates from Makerere University at the front page of today's New Vision. Then Chambogo, embattled Deputy Vice Chancellor replaced. Read about that in today's New Vision. Elsewhere, the Daily Monitor, government ordered to set private hospital fees. According to the new regulation, the High Court has also ordered private hospitals to stop detaining patients whose bills have not been cleared. The decision comes amid reports that medical facilities are charging an arm and log for services. Then in the homes, storm brews over factories in residential neighborhoods as government suspends licensing of online money lenders. Then family to front Ogwal's daughter for Dokolo seat. Read about that one. Then Wakiso child burns self to death. Then in the other news, how ministries will share 52 trillion shillings budget. Then in the Lizard, every family wants to stay in power forever. The Lizard is highlighting that. Then missing persons, National Unit Platform supporters now go to court. In the other news, Mubaje rivals write to Museveni over new team as fight for Luwero Diocese boils up. Then crossing the borders to Kenya, the Daily Nation, how Ruto broke housing pledge, resistance opposition to the levy in new bill mounts during public participation. Then the other headlines is Azimio in fresh push against high taxes and cost of living as Kome warning as UDA senators JSC plot in motion. Then Nyeri and Kiambu farmers reap big from 2.9 billion Kenyan shillings fund. Then you could read about a man who fled US after a woman is murdered. He has been arrested in Kenya. That is with the Daily Nation. Lastly, the Citizen newspaper from Tanzania, bank profits soar by 400 billion Tanzanian shillings. And then you can look at the banks that have been highlighted at the front page of today's Citizen. And then government outlines measures to tackle human trafficking. Which measures are those? You can find that in today's Citizen newspaper. Then why malaria has re-emerged in Zanzibar. Then Parliament debates electoral reform bills. That is with the Citizen. Also read about the largest business expo of 2024 in Dar es Salaam from the 31st to February the 2nd, kicking off today. That and more is with the Citizen newspaper today.
Thank you, Jerome Paul, for the updates from the world of newspapers. Now, if you want to get more informed or details of these stories, you can buy yourself a paper at the nearest stall and dig deeper into the issues and find out more information that may interest you. With that, we will take a short break and we'll leave you with Juliana Kanyomozi with Right Here. Day of January 2024. The 90 days of January are finally over, but also it is school fees week, so I don't know you, a parent out there or guardian, how this week is feeling for you. I'm sure the sun is scorching and the depth of your pockets can't be felt right now, but don't worry, everything is gonna be okay. The children will go back to school and you will be able to breathe again, and of course usher them into school, prepare them for the new academic year, and have amazing conversations with your children that will steer them into the right direction. Now, speaking about the 90 days of January, we also had a lot this month. By 90 days of January, it is usually a joke because after the festivities of December, many people spend so much money, and by the time January starts, many people are broke. So the January that is 31 days usually feels like 90 days. That's when the 90 days of January was coined. But I would like to know, Chantal, good morning.
Good morning, Olive. How are you today?
I am great. Now, speaking about the 90 days of January, have you felt them? Or you're the planned child that has financial discipline and your January was just fine?
Well, I choose to work with a different mindset. January has only 31 days to me, and it's actually it has really moved quite well. And I'm choosing to look at the positives of everything. It comes with its parts, but I pulled through. Today is 31st, so I'm good. About being a planned child, I'm planning to have planned kids.
That sounds like a vague answer, but I'll go with it. Anyway, this January also, we had a lot to do as a country. We had summits against summits over summits. We were able to host the Non-Aligned Movement Summit in this month of January, and also the G77 plus China Summit, but also we had the Women in Agribusiness Summit, and of course a business summit that happened, and then the IGAD. We had so much, and as a country, this has put us on the world map in many ways than one. Good morning, Jerome Paul.
Good morning, Monica, and good morning to you, our dear viewer. You've mentioned the summits. I think you've also forgotten the one for the speakers. Was it a summit?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the very first of the year, actually.
Conference.
Yes. I think that one is also one of those that we took seriously as a country. So it was a back-to-back, and we were successful at hosting all of those ones. January has been a good one for me in terms of how fast I've been able to create, how should I even put it? Friendships, friendships, and I've met different people, viewers, and of course, I think it is a month that has given me, an outlook of how 2024 is going to be, and I do expect
it's going to be a good year.
It's going to be a good year.
Wow.
And besides it being a good year, this is the last week where parents are going to be a little bit relaxed. The coming week, most of them are attacking schools.
Actually, they're not relaxed right now. Because if the balances are not in the bank, then they are not sleeping right now.
But I do believe every parent out there will walk throughout this month of February. The first 2 weeks of the month of February will be a walkthrough for them with hope and faith. And I wish all the parents all the best in conquering the school fees tension and of course the school requirements tension. But as of now, it's a good morning.
And the growing school requirements.
Yeah. And well, you did mention of who we are crushing on today. I will definitely crush on Lucy Nachobe, the chairperson of the organizing committee for the Non-Aligned Movement. When I interacted with some of the people who are close to her, they apparently said she's a very serious woman when it comes to doing her duties. And we all know once a woman is actually put into a position of that magnitude, what is at stake. And then normally it's always the tough that always make a way or prevail. So I want to say I'm crushing on her and all the women in such positions, whether you are the chairperson of a circle, because at this time around, many of the people who are serving in circles are going to be looking for their money because the month is coming to an end and they're supposed to be taking their children back to school. So any woman in a position of a chairman, or let's say a chairperson, and you're the chairwoman of any committee, whether it's a wedding committee, I pretty much crush on you today.
We should also crush on women that are treasurers, because we know that in most cases it's the treasurers that run away with our money. But anyway, speaking of January, still the NRM government was also celebrated 38 years since liberation. NRM took power back in 1986 and
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
the primary role of the police is to keep law and order. At least that's what I remember from my social studies lessons in primary school. But even as you go along in school, this is exactly the same information you are given. And if you're to follow the constitution of this land, which is Uganda, still the primary role of the police is to maintain law and order. But there are encumbrances that the police faces in their way of doing their job in maintaining security and peace and law and order within the borders of the country. Now, for many people, it has been discovered that in as much as police has to do this, sometimes they're not in position to do their job and do it effectively. We have had stories around salaries, welfare, among others, as some of the reasons that the police faces when they are doing their jobs. But we want to look deeper into it because there has been a call by different players saying that government should strengthen police capacity in order to curb crime. Now, in your area of residency, probably there are petty thieves, and maybe where you work, maybe there has been a cyber crime. And have these been handled effectively, at least according to you, or you feel that something should be done to strengthen the police for them to be able to do their investigations and bring the offenders or the thieves or, you know, everyone that is basically making it hard to live wherever you live or to work wherever you work, to bring them to book? Do you think that there is more that is needed? So I'd like for you to be a part of this conversation and share your views about what actions the government can take to strengthen capacity of police in order to curb crime. My name is Olive Monica Najoma, and I am with Chantal Oliver Kandinda and Jerome Paul Sonko, and together we will delve into this. And I'll jump right in it, Jerome Paul. Now, we, like I've said, maintain law and order. But then when we talk about the crimes that are being committed, as we evolve and develop as a country, these crimes are also becoming bigger and even better. Back in the day, we never used to have cybercrime. But now we have had stories of sometimes banks being hacked and other financial institutions being hacked. We've heard of key loggers that are taking money from ATMs in different banks. But also, we've heard of crime that is instigated, petty thieves. Because when we look at crime, we will look at the low end, and of course we will look at people that have maybe squandered or taken money from government coffers in billions of shillings. But at the core of all of this crime is the police. They have a job to do. They have investigations to carry out to bring the perpetrators to book, okay, so that justice can be served. What, in your opinion, do you think, first of all, are some of the encumbrances that the police is facing as of this moment while doing their job?
Well, there's an element of thieves being fast at adapting to new trends. Like when you mentioned on issues to do with tech issues or cyber crime. There was a time I was interacting with some of the officials from the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs who were saying the worry is that today's thieves are ahead at times. And it happens a lot in developing countries whereby thieves know how to deal with certain circumstances even before the police find a solution. So that is one reason. Now the other is self-infliction. I think this is more like the police themselves. The corruption tendencies within the officials, which is undermining a lot of the work they do. They do accept a lot of bribes, I should say. And when you look at the reason behind why they accept these bribes is because of the low welfare, or let's say poor welfare that they are living into. And then not only that, because it's not if you're actually working under poor welfare, it doesn't mean you necessarily have to open up your arms for the bribes.
Yes.
Because it's not right. It's more like you are to protect the country from such incidences, and if you're the one championing them, then you're putting the entire system at stake. Then besides that, there is an element of, let's say, servicing loans. We've seen issues not only even in the police, security, or, different security companies. For example, the private security companies, where most of the security guards have at times had issues with servicing their own loans. If you're to remember some cases, even a case which led to the death of an Indian around Parliamentary Avenue.
Yes, the police officer.
Where a police officer actually shot dead.
Yes.
The gentleman who was who he was supposed to pay or to clear.
Yes.
That loan, because the loan was actually accumulating with time. And also looking at the fact that these are human beings at times. When you look at a report that the majority of Ugandans are facing mental health disorders, this is also one of the reasons.
And police officers are also Ugandans.
Are also Ugandans,
yes.
and they're human beings as well. So there's a lot at stake, which is also undermining, their duties as well. And then, by the way, there is also another worrying concern that many Ugandans, as of today, do not respect
the police.
The police.
Really?
And how true is this for a statement? You do realize that at times, some people actually feel they're above the law.
Okay.
And this is when you look at some police officers. We've actually heard of reports whereby an individual who is caught in crime feels he cannot be arrested by a junior official because he feels maybe he has a lot of money in the country, or he has power in a given office.
Or knows someone who knows someone.
Exactly. So he can only make a phone call and then he's let go, or he's actually let free. So this also undermines the police officers to do their duties, because you do realize it's like if per se someone who has enough connections within the police hierarchy is found guilty of a crime or something, and then you report them to police and you are underprivileged, the chances are the justice may not be served on your behalf, because the other person will make a phone call. So some of the police officers are actually even scared of attempting to go in for this. And of course, this is, this is coming in from reports of many Ugandans who feel like justice has not been served on their way. So this, again, affects police. But also when you look into upcountry, Some of the reasons behind it is, or affecting service delivery of the police goes back to the quality of, I won't even use equipment, what they're actually supposed to be using. When you go up country, not all of them have, let's say, the means of transport, like the ones in town centers have. For example, trucks or the double cabins of the police officers. A few of them have borders, because here in Kampala, by the way, when you move, it is very easy to spot a police officer who is riding.
Are you spotting a police officer, you know, because they also have variations,
okay.
or you're spotting a
you look at traffic
police
officers.
officer?
No, there are actually some of those who are non-traffic, who are actually having these particular, you know, police bikes and police vehicles.
And now speaking about the means of transportation, even in the cities, you find, you've noted that you'll find a police officer with a bike. Now let me ask you, someone has committed a crime, maybe a murder or whatever. Are you going to arrest them on a bike and transport them on a bike?
Now imagine in a village, okay, it becomes even more difficult. Because remember, at least here, in, for example, in Kampala, we've seen the police at times, for example, even the traffic police, chasing down, for example, someone who is violating the road, you know, the road's signs and regulations.
That now is illegal.
Yes.
They're not supposed to chase
Exactly,
you.
but we've seen them because it does lead to accidents pretty much. Because there are some people who actually run away. Now, imagine in a situation in a village setting, or let's say in the rural setting, where there are very few means of transport in that situation. And then the police officer is supposed to be following up on a, let's say, a thief or a murderer. So the other options are, if this thief is actually having a better means of transport than the police officer,
they will get away.
Exactly.
Drivers.
So there are quite many issues.
Thank you, Jerome Paul. Now, Chantal, still speaking about some of the encumbrances that the police face while doing their duties. Jerome Paul has unpacked some of them, but let's go to the point of resources. He has touched on it a bit in form of transportation.
And even the welfare.
Exactly. But then there is equipment. Like I mentioned in the beginning, today crime has evolved. Some of it is not even physical, it is cyber. Now let's say there has been a huge cyber crime. Maybe a bank has been hacked, hundreds of millions or billions have been stolen. Does our police have enough resources in terms of technological equipment to actually investigate such crimes and bring the perpetrators to book?
Enough, or do they have the equipment?
There is that.
The equipment is there. The capacity is the worry.
Well, you know, when you look at it from that angle, you're going to look at there is a lot lacking. Now, I'm taking it down to the point where police has to investigate, for example. Jerome talked about chasing a criminal. You don't have to chase. Ideally, you shouldn't have to chase because there should be security cameras, for example, that help you identify this person. Now that means police has to be on alert.
But you know,
if I communicate,
exactly,
that's what I'm saying. It shouldn't have to be like that. We shouldn't have to chase. There should be cameras that point you to where this person has reached, for example.
There should be even a database.
Thank you. That's why I'm using the words should be, because some of these things are not there. And those that are there, they are very, very few, or they can't even serve like 40 or 20% of what they're supposed to do. So you look at it from the angle of there is not enough equipment that police can use to do their job. If I have to chase around a criminal through ghettos and all, yet I'm just looking for them. I'm not trying to get them to arrest them because I know them. No, I've seen something happening and I'm trying to chase them to get them. I don't think we are at a level where we can say we have even the equipment to help us run the work that police has to run. So in this case, we don't have enough equipment, and that limits how far police can go. I'll give you a scenario. Even if there was a system and the cameras are running and they stop somewhere, if that person is very well aware that these cameras stop here, there is a blind spot here, the next best thing this person will do is how to dodge, get out of where they're being seen, and the next thing you can't find them. So that makes the work of police even harder to locate these people. Then talk about even the skilling of the police officers themselves. How skilled are they? Can they handle, you talked about cybercrime, can they handle if there was a tragedy like that one? Are they in position? How many of them know how to use computers? You heard about, I don't know if you heard about this, but there was a time where there was a saga of people who are operating cameras. Who are operating the camera room, who are supposed to be monitoring the cameras that are on the streets. And they were telling you, some of these police officers do not know how to operate these computers in the camera room. So, do we have our police officers trained enough to know how to use the little equipment that is available, how to use it effectively? Because in some cases, we could have probably had results, but we couldn't because someone was not skilled enough to use the equipment that is available. Then talk about our infrastructure as a country. Look at our roads. If I am trying to get to someone, am I going to be able to move at a speed I'm supposed to move at to be able to catch up with this criminal? Look at the roads. Are they good enough? The next thing, if it has rained, you're likely to even drown.
I mean, you've been to the police to maybe get a police letter over stolen property, and you're asked to pay. Okay, the last time I went, and that was last week, I was asked to pay 1,000 shillings for printing, which is okay because it's 1,000 shillings. But there have also been allegations of police saying we need transport.
Yes.
To go maybe to the scene of crime,
they're
and
not
also
well funded.
yes, but also
not to forget, they're among the government agencies or departments whose budget was actually chopped in this current financial year, and of which even at the start of the financial year, they had actually asked for a supplementary budget, of which Parliament rejected. So when you look at that underfunding issue, at times you have to bear with them when they put it up as a key serious issue.
I thought you were going to say you have to bear with them when there are corruption tendencies. But anyway, according to the Auditor General's report that was released last year, he said that the police's forensics unit has come to the conclusion that the manpower, according to the report, came to a conclusion that the manpower and equipment shortages compromise its mandate. And in his report, the Auditor General said that these shortages have prompted a rise in the number of backlog cases and also has delayed the time through which crime is resolved. So you'll find that, for instance, the forensics unit has 4 laboratories, and these ones include one for chemical, biological, and radiology tests. So there is also another which devotes itself to studying questionable documents. And the other 2 laboratories include one for criminal investigations as well as one for cybercrime and digital forensics. Now, according to the Auditor General's report, performance levels of the chemical, biological, and radiology analysis laboratories stands at less than 50%. And he says that out of the 446 cases received for chemical, biological, and radiology analysis, only 203 were analyzed and concluded, representing a performance of 46%. And the report also said that performance levels at the questionable laboratory documents are much worse. The report puts them at a lowly 29%. And he also goes on to say that the questionable documents laboratory received 623 cases during the year 2021, in addition to a backlog of 1,161 at the beginning of the year. And by the end of this year, this was 2021, only 511 cases were analyzed and concluded. That's according to the Auditor General's report. Now, among the key issues the Auditor General pointed out was that there are the equipment issue. And he said that whereas each scene of crime officer is meant to have a scene of crime kit and camera, to have a scene of crime, this is not the case. And whereas there are 407 scenes of crime officers attached to the crime investigations laboratory, there are only 224 scenes of crime kits, 210 cameras, 108 motorcycles, and this scorecard, the report says, hampers work. Now, looking at those numbers,
Yes.
That's when we move into the question, and we would like for you to be a part of this conversation right this minute. How best, or in your perspective, what actions can the government take to increase capacity for police so that they can curb crime? You can join the conversation through WhatsApp number 0709602592. And you can also share your views on the X app. The hashtag is UBCGMU. Now, coming back to you, my colleagues. These numbers, you cannot say that there is a backlog of 1,100 plus cases and less than 500 were handled. Okay, this means there are many. All these cases represent a Ugandan who is waiting to get justice.
True.
So, looking at such numbers and the Auditor General's report, what actions do you think the government should take to increase police's capacity so that we can be able, as a country, to curb crime?
Well, you have a point?
Yeah, I was going to say, let's start it with, I would highly recommend that government starts to run business like a business.
Okay.
Business like a business.
Yes.
Standing on business. Too.
Okay.
Yes.
Standing
And
on
what
business.
and what do I mean? If for example, if you own a company, you know that for a business to thrive better, it has to be more people best. So let's look at these gentlemen and ladies that we want to work to a certain capacity. Do they individually have the ability to work to that capacity? How are they being paid? How long do their salaries take to come in? I mean, I was trying to find out how much does a police officer earn. You're looking at between 450,000 or 500,000 to 1.5 million Uganda shillings, depending on where they sit and what they do and what level they are at. Now, I'm talking about police officers that do what I would call the donkey work. So, are they paid well? Look at their housing. Where do they sleep? Is that motivation enough for someone to wake up and serve their country to the best of their ability? That is why we have distractions and diversions in the middle there. That is why we can't get rid of corruption in police. Because if someone is thinking, okay, I haven't been paid say it's coming to 2 months, I haven't been paid, but I have a family that needs to be taken care of. If someone offers 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, and that is going to put food on the table back home, they're most likely going to take that money. So let's first invest in these officers. Let's make sure, one, the environment at work is also friendly. The environment where they sleep is friendly. Let's make sure they're being paid. It may not be entirely enough, but let's make sure they are slightly comfortable to be able to perform their duties. Then after that, how are we investing in them in terms of skilling them, capacity building? Are they aware of the rate of growth of technology? Are they aware of the level we are at? Can they handle the technology that is currently available? Or we have a Form 6 vacuist who is more aware of how some parts of internet work, and this police officer does not. And that is something that happens. You find a police officer who says, I don't know these things, but by the Form 6 vacuist, they are very well aware of how to navigate through these things. So when we invest in these officers, one, make sure their welfare is taken care of, may not be perfect, but to a better degree. We will have put them somewhere. You know, have you ever talked to a police officer, not all but most, and realize there is a bit of confidence that they lack? There is a bit of an inferiority they have. And if you're to talk to them, it all stems from how they live, their welfare, their mental health at work is not even put into consideration.
I remember when there was a suggestion that government should give a certain amount of money so that police, for mental health services for police officers. And I remember having a conversation with a colleague in the media who said, maybe that's not what they need. Maybe working on their affairs, welfare, is what they need. Because when you talk about, let's say, mental illnesses like depression, what depresses you? For me, it is
back
money.
home. Yes, back home.
Most people actually, it's the responsibilities at your desk, and pretty much because you lack the finances
If
to push
we
for it.
invest in these officers, we are giving them a certain level of confidence to even stand on. Let me tell you, if you've not met a police officer who is not confident, I hope you get to meet one. You will realize, you will even feel bad for them.
But
Even if they're being tough on you and they're being rude, you will just feel bad for them because you know they're coming from a place of things are not okay.
No, we've seen cases of even security guards, let's say private security guards, shooting their own bosses at home
Yes.
because
Or their
of such
colleagues,
issues.
yes.
But I think also, looking at this crime prevention thing, we can as well look at how we, the community, can take part of the crime prevention.
And I would like
You
for
know-
you to hold that thought.
Okay.
I'm going to share a few comments and then we'll pick it up from there. And this one says, good morning, UBC. Thanks for the program. The bit I don't agree with is the issue of police officers being computer illiterates. We didn't say police officers are computer illiterate. We didn't say that.
one mentioned
No.
that.
We just say they do not have enough equipment. But anyway, he goes on to say that the problems are with deployment. People deploy their relatives in such departments after knowing that he or she is a degree holder in agriculture. I really don't think this is how police works, but I stand to be corrected.
But still, to the person that is commenting, the truth is, not all of them are very well abreast with how the internet runs. Let's face it, they need training that has to go on and on. It doesn't stop today. And just because you can sit at a computer and operate it, that's not the kind of skill we're talking about.
But how many computers have you seen at police stations?
That is the other thing. That is the
And
other
we're
thing to
moving
talk
on.
about.
Police would do better, but the problem, the government has ignored them, yet we expect them to perform. No equipment, poor welfare, poor technology. Actually, a lot. These people are trying their best. Please leave your name when you send in your comment. And thank you for greeting us, but would prefer that you send us the views as far as the topic is concerned. And someone says, Chantal is very right. The problem isn't the number of equipment to be used, but it is due to financial malnourishment, which has influenced a lot of corruption, mainly in police. Jerome Paul, you are burning to say something.
Yes, I was looking at the crime prevention part, and I did mention how we can take it as a collective effort. When you look at all those cases that you've mentioned, over 1,000 and less than 500 have been worked upon, takes us back to a conversation we did have last year in relation to how we can deal with justice. That there are some cases that may not need police intervention, that may need the community coming together to an understanding.
So that brings us to the strengthening of LC courts.
Yes, LC ones. And when you also look at the local councils, for example, if an LC one is earning 10,000 Ugandan shillings, one may think, are they really, really going to put their mind to solving such cases? You're earning, let's say, 10,000 Ugandan shillings, and on your local council, you're going to solve an issue of money robbery of, let's say, 20 million Ugandan shillings.
Or land issues.
Land issues. So that means the one with more money can easily bail you, or let's say, bribe you.
Influence your
And
decision.
influence your decisions in the long run. So I think as we look at crime prevention, we can also look at establishing those kind of, something that the government for a while was doing so well, putting up the crime preventers, though at times they became the criminals themselves. But when you look at the community part of it, how can we deal with certain issues that you do realize that at times we've all agreed to a magnitude that the police may not have enough capacity to deal with most of these crimes. And then there's some petty crimes that can easily be dealt with on a local council basis. you know, for example, or for instance, someone has actually come to your neighborhood and stolen, a hen. We've seen all these cases going to the police. Those are cases where you can take to the local council, let the community come, have maybe a sitting, to put, or you can even sit with your neighbors to put an end to some of the things. So I think it also goes back to understanding that for now, like I did mention, when the police, set out a supplementary budget, the members of parliament rejected it. So which clearly shows you theirs is also a financial issue.
Financial malnourishment,
So,
like one of our viewers
yes.
put
So
it.
when you have that as an issue of concern, and when even the government is actually saying the country does not have enough money to push into others, so we have to look for means into which, for example, if I am living in a community, it should not only be to the police to deal with my, with certain crimes or with the protection part of it. I can as well promote law and order in my own capacity as a citizen.
So like Jerome Paul is saying, it is collective responsibility. Yes, the police's main role is to maintain law and order, and they try to do that even when they have limited resources. But then at your level, village level, what are you doing? Because like he says, probably we also need to put in effort as individuals, as citizens, because it is our country. We need it safe. Anyway, I have two comments that I will share and then we will call it a day. This one is Nelson from Nigeria, but he lives in Uganda. He says, officers, they have to be educated in many areas to enable them to do their jobs more effectively. And Rasul Idris says, he's from Zombo district, and he says, I want to appreciate the program. Indeed, police are the worst in the areas of operation, and that's why they lack a lot in their own home states. They should continue working since it is a patriotic job for the nation. And lastly, this one says, because the police officers are government workers and entirely depend on monthly salaries, some of them have neglected their duties, having it in mind that whether they work or not, still they will be paid after the end of the month, thus extending their responsibilities. Well, we don't know this to be true, and if that's the case, of course, I'm sure that their leaders or supervisors will look into these cases. But that's all we had for you as far as this is concerned. As an individual, as a citizen, you also have a responsibility to ensure that there is safety and that there is security in your community. So what are you doing? I would like for you to stay thinking about that. But Good Morning Uganda continues. We have Allen Namisango with Good Morning Uganda Tourism Express.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
Well, welcome everyone to the biggest game on the continent.
And you have to. You've got to just seize those moments and enjoy them as much as you possibly can.
Junko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model, PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sewatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Junko, I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
It is a pleasure to know that you are watching UBC TV. This is the GMU Tourism Express with Irene Allen Namisango, Uganda Uncovered. My role is to only bring you all the hidden gems that Uganda has. Uganda is endowed with so many captivating beauties that you need to explore, that you need to venture into, go somewhere, you need to visit a destination, you need to go for a vacation, you need to have that romantic trip. But my role is to take you through Uganda, take you through the beautiful destinations, the accommodation, where to go, activities, what to engage in at the comfort of your sitting room, at the comfort of your office desk, or watching us live on our YouTube channel. And today, like, we come back here every morning to talk about Uganda's tourism, just to inspire you or to motivate you to have tourism in your talks, to have tourism in your normal conversations. Because currently tourism is the biggest foreign exchange earner for the government, but it is also the fastest growing industry in Uganda as well as the whole world. So it is worth the talk. It is worth having us here talking about tourism, talking about different ideas, the travel news, the trends, what is happening in the travel world of the country, and also to motivate you to go somewhere. Well, it being the 31st of January, it is also the perfect time to talk about trips, because most of you have gotten your salaries, and now probably you're asking your colleagues, where are you today? Where is Survive going to catch fire? And others are also thinking about maybe taking back children to school, because it is that time when children are going back to school. But I'm going to remind you one thing, that as you're planning all this, after drawing all your budget, please spare some money, save some money for a trip this year. Make sure that you go to that destination that you've always wanted to visit. So let this year be that year that you're going to have your dream fulfilled. Well, today's adventure is taking us to Seziba Falls in Mukono district. Now this is one of the popular destinations that we have in the country. Its captivating beauty has made it one of the best places that you can ever visit when you are in Uganda, or when you decide to explore your very own country, the Pearl of Africa. It is just about 45 kilometers from Kampala, and this place, when you reach to this place, the atmosphere, the rocks, the river, the falls, the birds, the sounds, like a lot. You just get excited with a lot. So many things that happen here. It is a cultural heritage site for Uganda, and this place, it is one of the places where so many people go for cultural rituals, to request, maybe some of them go to request for blessings, others go maybe to get off their curses, others go to get wealth. So this is a cultural place where people go for different rituals, and when you reach the place, you'll see some huts, and these huts, some of them are actually shrines where traditional healers are always doing their rituals. But going to the interesting part of the falls, it is its history. So this falls, the river, Seziba River, is believed to have been born by a lady who was called Nankungu Tebatusa, whose husband was Sebwato Nsubuga. So they believe that this lady, as she was moving to Kavuma, she gave birth to 2 rivers. One was Seziba River and the other one was Bwanda River. So Seziba River is, the name Seziba is gotten from a local phrase called Siziwa Kubo. Siziwa Kubo means that my path cannot be stopped. So this river, I said that it covers about 150 kilometers, but amidst other challenges that it faced, the blockages that it faced, it could not be stopped. So its source is in Buyikwe and it moves down to Lake Choga in Kayunga district around the places of Galilaya village. So the river forms a fall at a cliff of 18 kilometers. Now the place is amazing when you reach Seziba Falls because first of all, the activities that you're going to engage in, rock climbing. Have you thought of, or have you ever imagined yourself climbing through these rocks with beautiful sounds of birds, meeting different animals like monkeys, and then you're walking through the forest just to those quiet sounds that you're not used. You know, in Kampala, we are used, as you're moving, someone grabs your hand, come and buy this pant or what. But when you go to this place, it is different. It is the true natural beauty that you would need to endure in. But also the other things that you can engage in here, the history, that cultural bit of it, forest walks, scenic viewing, watching the falls, because when the water is falling off the cliff, it appears big up, but then it narrows down as it falls, as it joins the brown water, and it is all just a very beautiful scenery that you should watch. And then maybe also the sunset viewing. If you're a couple or you're lovers, you're just new lovers, this is one place that you need to go to because you can give yourselves like so many promises. So you just need to be to this place. And another reason why you shouldn't miss out Seziba Falls is that Seziba Falls is also very close to Kampala. You can have a half-day trip. You go to Seziba Falls, come back by around 4 or 3, you can be back to Kampala. But if you're having a trip to Jinja or the eastern part of the country, it can also be a perfect stopover for you. So you go as a branch off, you go to Seziba Falls, do all these activities, enjoy the birds. If you are a bird watcher, this is a perfect spot for you because among the many, more than 1,000 bird species that we have in the country, Seziba Falls is one of those destinations that is a home to so many birds. Actually, when you're walking through the trees, you can see that most of the trees here are crowded with bird nests. So it is just a proof that so many bird species called Seziba Falls are home. But also the environment, the green lush, together with the water, together with the rocks and the blue skies, it is just a perfect scenery for you to view, and that you shouldn't miss out. That is it that we had for you about the attraction today. And going through the travel tip, I'm going to advise you that please make sure that you have a more budget than your budget. Because if you're going for a trip, of course, you're going to look out for the accommodation, the activities, the transportation, and the meals, maybe also some drinking water, and then that is your budget. Maybe it is 500,000. But you need to be with some spare cash that can cover maybe some emergencies that come up, or you would want to buy something, or you would just get an emergency. So you need to have a more budget than your budget that you had initially. Thank you so much. I am Irene Alena Misango. Catch you tomorrow.
To the Game You Business Update of this morning. I am Joram Paul Sonko, and we are going to start off from government denying the allegations that the budget allocation to both State House and the Office of the President are being exaggerated. This is following a minority report on the National Budget Framework paper, where the members of the opposition in Parliament allege that part of the funds in State House is used for activities that include weddings and birthday parties. So now the government has keenly and strongly come out to say these are false allegations on how the money is being used. Then during the parliamentary session, the Minister of State for Finance, that is Henry Musasizi, objected the claims, saying that the Budget Committee of Parliament presented a report of the National Budget Framework paper for 2024 to 2025. That was as of last week, and this is where some of these revelations were coming in. A minority report on the same was presented by Ibrahim Semujunganda, and the debate pushed to Tuesday, which was yesterday. Now, in the report, the Kira Municipality Member of Parliament, that is Ibrahim Semujunganda, claimed that the budget operated by the State House is over-exaggerated and misused. And also, as Parliament further convened on to considering the motion to adopt the forthcoming national budget, and that is the National Budget Framework paper, the chairperson of the Parliamentary Committee on the Presidential Affairs watered down these allegations and that were actually raised in the minority report, saying that most of the money that goes into the State House is actually being used for other things instead of what it is meant to be used for. The minority report that was ideally pushed or presented by the Member of Parliament from Kira Municipality, or for Kira Municipality, saying that this money is being used for birthday parties and then other celebrations in State House. Well, the Minister of State for Finance, Henry Musasizi, says these funds allocated to State House and the Office of the President are utilized well by President Yoweri Museveni for matters to do with the State House, for facilities, and of course the other allowances attached to the employees of State House. Well, away from that, we now talk the matters to do with the Uganda Kingdom's Katikiro, or Prime Minister, who applauded the National Agriculture and Research Organization for the efforts they have put in agriculture, or for the efforts of investing in Uganda's agricultural sector. The Uganda Kingdom had, of course, signed a memorandum of understanding that is recently with NARO, and this is intended to boost agricultural production within the Buganda region. Not only that, there was also a memorandum of understanding that was signed between the Buganda government and the Uganda Coffee Development Authority to ensure coffee production grows within the central region of the country. Now, Katikiro Charles Peter Maiga advised farmers to adopt modern agriculture so as to yield much harvest. The Director General of NARO, that is Dr. Yona Baguma, appealed to the Buganda Kingdom to encourage farmers on farming as a way to increase production, especially when it comes to production from the agricultural sector, so as to grow Uganda's agro-processing industry and increase the agro-based exports out of the country. And furthermore, also focusing on the issue to do with value addition, something that is very pivotal in commercial agriculture. Well, Barbara Zawede, the principal of Muzid, highlighted on the key role of this institute in Uganda's agriculture. Then Katikiro toward National Coffee Agriculture Institute, the Mukono Zonal Research Development Institute, that are both in Mukono, and National Livestock Resource Research Institute, and then the National Agriculture Research Laboratory Kawanda in Mwakiso District, in order to push for agricultural production and increase in production of agricultural produce within Buganda Kingdom. Well, lastly, from our business update this morning, we go to the international scene, where a judge in the U.S. state of Delaware has annulled a $55.8 billion, approximately 45 billion pounds, pay deal awarded to Elon Musk in 2018 by the electric car company Tesla. The lawsuit was filed by a shareholder who urged that it was an overpayment. Now, on the other hand, Judge Kathleen McCormick ruled that the Tesla board's approval of the pay package was deeply flawed. In a post on X, which is owned by Mr. Musk and formerly known as Twitter, he wrote, "Never incorporate your company in the state of Delaware." The pay deal was the biggest ever in corporate history, and this helped to make Elon Musk one of the richest people in the world, and currently, according to Forbes' recent list, sitting second. Well, besides that, also looking at the Tesla directors, urged that the deal was made to ensure one of the Tesla directors argued that the deal was made to ensure that one of the world's most dynamic entrepreneurs continued to dedicate his attention to Tesla. But the judge ruled that Tesla and Elon Musk's attorneys were unable to prove that the stockholder vote was fully informed and that he had extensive ties with the persons tasked with negotiating on Tesla's behalf. Given the judge found Elon Musk to be in control of the board, it is so hard to justify a transaction like this. That is according to Brian Quinn, who is a professor at Boston College Law School. Well, now lastly, from our business update this morning, we now look at the forex market. Close of business 30th January 2024. As we head into the 31st, as you're getting into the forex market, this is how you find the currencies faring, courtesy of the Bank of Uganda. The US dollar was buying at 3,808.04 while selling at 3,818.04. Then closing time, so the US dollar buy at 3,808.71 while selling at 3,818.71. And then the Great Britain pound was buying at 4,833.25 while selling at 4,845.94. Moving forward, the Kenyan shilling was buying at 23.54 while selling at 23.60. The euro was buying at 4,118.73 shillings while selling at 4,129.55 shillings. Then the Tanzanian shilling was buying at 1.51 shillings while selling at the same 1.51 shillings. The South African rand was buying at 202.24 shillings while selling at 202.77 shillings. So that is how you will definitely find the different currencies as of open business this morning. Well, and that's it for our business update this morning. It's now time for us to check in with the traffic updates. Olive Monica Najuma is here to take you through that.
Well, thank you so much for being a part of Good Morning Uganda. My name is Olive Monica Najuma. Thank you so much for waking up with us every single morning. We don't take that for granted. And we are also always here to be with you from 6:30 in the morning to 9 a.m. Well, right this minute, we delve into the traffic situation. Now, today, starting actually on Monday, Makerere University started its graduation, and it will be going on until Friday this week. It's 74th graduation. Now, we'd like to look at the roads surrounding this area and see how best you can maneuver through these roads, because as we know, when there is a graduation at Makerere University, you're going to encounter lots of traffic jam, especially for the people heading the side of Wandegea, and also people that are going to use Makerere Hill Road to traverse and get into other parts of the country. Now, what you see on your screen right now is the Tuko roundabout, which joins Chira Road, Binaisa Road, Yusufule Road, and Makerere Hill Road. And as you can see just around this roundabout, we see that for those that are coming in from Chira Road, there is a traffic jam that is joining the roundabout right this minute. And for those that are coming through from Yusufule Road, right before the roundabout, there is still traffic jam in this area, and also traffic jam that is coming through from Haj Musa Kasule Road, still going to the sides of Chira Road or Yusufule Road. And we see traffic jam, a huge stretch of traffic jam that is coming through from Binaisa Road. For those coming in from Binaisa Road, you're going to lose quite a big amount of time in this section, because as you can see, most of it has a red zone, which is indicative of a traffic jam. Actually, the traffic jam here starts from the roundabout that connects Binaisa Road to Dwaliro Road and Katanga pedestrian path. All of this area is red, which is indicative of traffic jam that has already gathered up in this area. And even for those going the side of New Mulago Gate, this entire place has traffic jam as of this morning. Now, going back to Tuko roundabout, we want to see how you can get to the areas of Makere, whether the traffic situation has started or not. But for those coming in from Binaisa Road, there is intense traffic coming through from that part of town. Now, moving ahead to Makere Hill Road, and where Haji Musa Kasule Road transitions into Makere Hill Road, we see a bit of traffic jam that is coming through from Nakasero Hill Road, and then continuing with Makere Hill Road. Now we are at the intersection in Wandegea, that is the intersection that also has Bombo Road. And we see that crossing through, there is a bit of traffic jam that is coming from Bombo Road side, but going ahead Makere Hill Road side, for now, we still have green zones. We still have a smooth flow of traffic. A bit of orange zones here and there, but nothing that is worrying, at least for now. But what I know for sure is that as the day moves along, it may not be the same situation later on. Now, as we approach, we are still on Makere Hill Road, and I see that as we approach Makere University main gate, now here is where the traffic situation starts to get out of hand. For those coming in from Nankulabye side, Sa Apolokagwa side, you can see that there is huge traffic coming through from that side of town. Some of it is coming in from Gaddafi Road, and of course there is more that is coming in through from that intersection that has Full Gospel Church. Now, around the area that has the Makere University main gate, this here is where we are encountering intense traffic. And as you can see, going off Makere Hill Road into the main gate, this entire section is red. What this means is that most likely many parents are trying to access the university grounds where the graduation ceremony is taking place, and this means that people that are coming from the side of Sa Apolokagwa Road, because they may be delayed a bit because the university is on the left hand side of that road, so you will encounter a huge delay when you reach this area. But if you're heading to the areas of Nankulabye, then Makere Hill Road looks pretty fine. You should be able to move without so much of an encumbrance. Of course, around the intersection that has Full Gospel Church, here we have traffic lights, and as you know, we will encounter a bit of traffic jam in this section. Now, for people that are heading towards Apolokagwa Road, I see that even here we have a bit of traffic jam that is coming through from where Sa Apolokagwa starts from, somewhere in after the bypass in Boaise, and we see that there is some traffic jam that is coming through from this side going up to the areas of Sa Apolokagwa. Now, for those coming through, like I said, from Nankulabye side, there is a huge traffic jam right before the intersection that has the traffic lights. You might encounter a huge delay in this section, but other parts of the road look pretty fine. So those that are just hitting the road, at least in the beginning, you should be okay to move without encumbrances. Now, in Nankulabye itself, we see that there is a bit of traffic jam right around the traffic lights, but also if we are to follow this route and see how the situation looks like for those coming in from the areas of Kasubi, we see that yes, for the most part, there is traffic jam. As if from Kasubi, there is that corner around the Masiro, all of it has a traffic jam coming through, going to the areas of Nankulabye. Now, if you're going the side of Hoima Road, you are in good hands because there is no traffic jam there. You should be able to move without any inconvenience whatsoever. And if you're heading to the sides of Balintuma Road, there is smooth flow of traffic in this area as you head to the sides of Mengo. You should be able to move without any inconvenience. Well, that's it that we had for you for traffic updates For those that are graduating today at Makerere University, we say congratulations. For the parents that are attending the ceremony, you should be going, you should be on your way by now, because the traffic situation may get even worse later on. But from Good Morning Uganda family, we congratulate you all. It's not easy being in a university. So you've done a great, tremendous job. It's commendable. Good Morning Uganda continues. I'm Olive Monica Najuma.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, welcome everyone to the biggest game on the continent.
And you have to. You've got to just seize those moments and enjoy them as much as you possibly can.
Junko. Yo. What you check the shopping man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Junko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are,
but you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief, and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government, designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
A new dawn on Behind the Headlines with me, Timothy Nyangweso. Every Wednesday, live in our studios in the heart of Kampala, we have conversations that have analysis, explanation, but not every truth is fact, and not every fact is truth. Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Mukoke Fish Farmers Association tuli balunzi ba byananda ebyebika ebisatu omuli Miracap, tilapia oba engege ni catfish twete male. Group eno twatandika twali abantu basatu nga tulingirira obwetaavu obw'ebyenanda oba obw'ivva n'okubona nti tufuna okasente akava mu maadi agali gatambula butambule nga gatubita ku wano ng'ekirabo. Twatandika ni fish pond ndala mu mwaka gw'e2018. Twebaza fisheries officer ni district ya Bugiri babanga batulagirira ku Sani Fish Farm ebuyikwe side day ndeyo twabanga tusobola okufuna kwetusaako obugege obwasooka era mu mwaka ogwali 2020 awo basobola okuba nga batuwaayo ebyenanda emitwalo $40 okuva mu operation Werese Creation era okuba ayongerezaako emmere yatuweebwa okuva Uganda Poultry Breeders twasobola okuba nga tusoloza akasente akawerera obukayire nga 42 twasobola okuba nga tubuinvestinga oba okubona nti twongerezaako ku bimu ku bintu bye tukola gano twebaza gavumenti yaife okuba nga buli saawa efaayo okuba nga efe eri abannayuganda.
Alpha without Omega. I am Africa.
Hail to Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, a land with the world's most beautiful, captivating features. Hills, mountains and valleys, the enigmatic animal species in the wild. A land where Africa is condensed into one small country with authentic endowments of nature and perfect safari. Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, is without the crowds with abundant primates, wildlife and stunning scenery. Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, takes you beyond the guidebooks, the known features, and gives you the insights unmatched. Keep it UBC TV, where we inspire Uganda with authentic beauty and nature of our motherland. Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. Discover the fountain.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
For being with us on UBC TV. Welcome to the agenda. I'm Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono, and it is a lovely Wednesday as many parents are warming up to have their children back to school. Guardians as well also doing that, because you may not be a parent, but there is someone you could be responsible for their education. And yes, you dig deep into your pocket. It is first term, people are going to new classes. I don't want to think there are those that rebounded, because even in UPE, rebounding is not accepted. Whether what, you continue until you're done with primary 7. So just wish our students, our pupils, the very best as they begin new classes. Now, I'm here this morning to discuss issues of labor, externalization. Now, we all know that we have a number of Ugandans that have left this country to look for greener pastures. Some have had their dreams fulfilled. Others live to tell the suffering that they landed themselves in after leaving the Pearl of Africa, due to mistakes they could have made, or maybe luck not moving their way. Now, joining me to discuss this, I have Commissioner Rollins, a guru who happens to be the Commissioner in charge of Employment Services, Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. Good morning.
Good morning, viewers. Good morning, Robert.
And at the extreme end, I have Ashe Chitandwe, who is the CEO Enjazi Limited. Long time, welcome.
Thank you very much, Robert. Good morning, viewers.
And definitely me, Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono, your host. Now, we want to begin by understanding, we're going to talk about labor export. What are we referring to? And how is our country doing in that direction, Commissioner?
Thank you very much, Robert, again. Thank you very much, viewers. A very good morning. So the phrase labor externalization is actually migration for work abroad. I don't know where Ugandans got this terminology of externalization, but that's what it is. And of course, this is as old as we all know, but it was formalized in 2005, launched by the president, and it was called the External Employment Program. Now, 2005, if you will recall, in 2003, the Americans went into Iraq and Afghanistan. They did what they did, and eventually they started the drawdown. So the drawdown led to a situation where there would have been a vacuum, especially in the security circles. So they needed people to fill up that vacuum, and Ugandans were among the first people to be identified to be able to do those security-related jobs, including security contracts. So Iraq, Afghanistan, and later on Somalia as well. Now, in a situation of a law not being there, there had to be crafted one. So the externalization law, 2005, came into place, and that was essentially to ensure that the industry was mainstreamed, to put in place safety and orderly manner, and that people would be able to live regularly, as opposed to what we all know as Cheyo, where you simply get a passport, get across the border, and you find a job wherever you want to go. So that's the genesis of that. So the first people were ex-combatants, essentially. But then, of course, other attendant job categories then came in, chefs. That's when we also discovered of course, we had always been going to the Middle East, security, airport operators, nannies, drivers were also in demand. And then that went on until then we got into bilateral labor agreements with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and with Jordan. And then the process continued. Obviously, as I speak now, the biggest destination country still continues to be the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And the main category is domestic workers. So we are looking at about 80%, 75 to 80% of our migrant workers going to one country, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
85%, one country.
One country,
of which majority are domestic workers.
Domestic workers.
And this is where I want us to focus more today, because we've had a number of unpleasant stories, but almost only when it comes to domestic workers. The security guards, for some reason, I don't know why, we don't have so much complaints there, the chefs, and all that. But when it comes to the security guards, now this is where I want to bring in Ashe. Ashe, when we talk about domestic workers, for some good reasons, Uganda, we were one of those countries that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia longed for and yearned for to take our girls there. But it seems of late the trend is changing. Yes, there are other newcomers, but for some reason it seems our girls are no longer in the position of being favored as it were previously. The people in this business, if this is true, why?
Right, thank you very much, Robert, for that very, very good question. First of all, Robert, we need to realize that when we got started with our first bilateral in 2018, we were relatively babies in this sector. Because countries like the Philippines, they had been in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for about 30 to 40 years. So they were more experienced, they knew how to get by and stuff like that. But our first bilateral in 2018, we did 5 years, and I think it expired in around 2021, something like that, if I'm not mistaken. And we just had a renewal. So there are a lot of things that we've learned along the way, but also there are those small issues here and there that, we need to fix. Because remember, it's a learning process as far as we're concerned. Now, when the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia opened up its market, because that time we were almost alone, because now the Philippines had shifted, to other job categories, and Uganda had that very good opportunity. So the demand was really, really high. And like I've never been to an economics class, but I know there is demand and supply at some point where, things fall apart sometimes. But remember now, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has opened up to other countries, like Ethiopia, Ghana, Nigeria, and all these other countries.
Burundi recently.
Even Burundi recently, yes. So there is a lot of competition, that's the truth. But we had, and we still have an edge, because because of our command, the English language. 2, I think we've also gained some experience. And 3, when you realize that you have people who are actually being asked to go back and renew their, they come back, renew their contracts and go back. It shows you that there is something they are seeing. And the commissioner will tell you the figures are there. People that have returned after their 2 years. Now, Robert, definitely, as you go along, things change a bit. And for example, if you look at the commission charged by Ethiopia, it is less, way, way, way less than what we charge as Uganda. Remember, it's government and government that decide. But if you're able to negotiate a little higher, it is okay. They wouldn't stop you. But in this case, we have what we call a cap. And that cap, if you look at what Ethiopia is doing, you realize that they are a little low. And because of that, that is also competition. Because, someone will tell you, Ashe, if I'm paying commission of this much, and I get an option where I'm paying almost, a few $100 less. 2, the turnaround time also matters. Countries like Ethiopia, of course, they've just, started this. And their turnaround time is maybe about 2 weeks. And Uganda, we are looking at about 3 weeks. Thanks to the commissioner's team, they were able to actually at least make sure that we now have this external employment management information system. But remember, for us, we have what we call an orientation. That takes another 2 weeks.
Yes.
Okay?
Previously it was 7 days, now it's an extension.
Yes, so Ethiopia doesn't have that. So how do you beat that? But also the ministry is telling you that we need to stick to what has been working and just improve it. So definitely that has affected us, and that's why we are in this position, Robert. Yes, but also, Robert, on the other hand, also the conduct of some of our girls hasn't been good. Believe me, these countries follow up on these social media videos and stuff like that. I'll tell you something, there is something called diplomatic fights, where a country says, okay, countries, for example, companies in Uganda, your ministry will license you, no problem, but we're not going to give you what we call injazit. For example, if I can give an example, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So you won't be able to work, but you have your license. So sometimes you realize that how do you mitigate and handle some of the things? So the bad publicity, the negative publicity has also affected us, I must admit. And that's why we're in this position, Robert. Thank you.
Yeah, I understand when you talk about bad publicity, this is a time when there's so much regarding unpleasant stories on the social media of Ugandan girls in Saudi Arabia suffering, being tortured. And I remember one time the government of Saudi Arabia, the kingdom, had threatened to suspend Ugandan domestic workers because they were saying it is tainting their image so much. Now, Commissioner, coming back to you, when we talk about these domestic workers, how safe are they when they leave Uganda? Because it is a booming business, I must say, because when you move around any road in Kampala, the 5 divisions, it is very hard for you to come back and you've not seen a signpost of people taking girls abroad. But the question remains, how safe are these girls? One time someone termed it as modern day slavery. Now that I have the person in charge, are you taking girls? Are you signing and pending your signature for them to go to modern day slavery?
Thank you very much, Robert. And first of all, let me appreciate, actually, this is a classic case of clear-headedness in the industry. We need more of such, articulation.
Sometimes it makes tremendous losses.
Yeah, you're better off with losses.
The time you had to bring back a girl who reached Saudi and simply said her grandparents, the demon wanted her back to Uganda.
Now, those are some of the challenges we have with our girls, those kind of lies, for them to come back. And you might find that somebody was just missing home. and somebody was missing going to the beach, or their telenovelas and so on, because this is a beautiful country which you realize you've left and you are in 45 degrees of a desert, Then all of a sudden the glittering stuff no longer matters and you want to come back. But yes, as you're saying, yes, we have a new bilateral with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, recently renewed, and it has a number of provisions which protect the domestic worker, in terms of your salaries, the hours of work, the renewal of your contract requiring that you must come back. You cannot just unilaterally be made to extend your stay without the authorization of the sending company, of the government, of your next of kin. So that, those are some of the provisions that there are. The ashes are about 406 now, in terms of numbers of licensed companies. There was a time we had a moratorium. Of course, people made noise, but that also gave us, an opportunity to clean house, because yes, it's free enterprise, and Ugandans are enterprising, so I'm told, yes, but in that mix also, because migration is an age-old phenomenon, but it also attracts, the good, the bad, and the ugly in the business. So 406, not all of them are necessarily working. Ugandans, we love to get into businesses which we are not necessarily prepared for. So that has also weeded out some of the bad apples already by natural attrition. So when you see numbers of companies working maybe about 100, 120, it means people have not been able to cope up. And that has enabled us to work with the serious ones, like, the Njazi kind of group. And therefore, the welfare of the worker now becomes very important. Obviously, as a country, it's not about only employment created. We are not about capturing the market as such. Yes, numbers matter, but the quality of the numbers is very important. So before you start crying loud, we are not having the numbers that we used to have before. Point is, of those numbers, how many have made noise? Right. How many have lied and have been brought back, like, Ashe has made that loss, those losses a number of times. Right. So instead of sending abroad people, churning, just sending them abroad, you have, this is an opportunity also to see who should be traveling abroad. Are they really going to be ambassadors of this country? Or we are simply interested in, yes, we should be sending 5,000 per month, and we should be having remittances of 5 billion or 20 billion US dollars. No. It should now be about quality of the people we are sending, their rights. Nobody should be dying. Nobody should be told to come back in a box. So that is now where we are, working with companies to ensure quality abroad and that the girl is safe. So working with them, working with the International Organization for Migration, working with the destination country, ensuring that we have joint meetings between Uganda and the destination countries more frequently to iron out some of these loopholes.
Now, Commissioner, you mentioned that. Ashe, take us through the journey of a domestic worker who uses legal means.
Right. Thank you very much, Robert. First of all, before we even get to domestic workers, there is a process behind of what we call a job order approval. That is a very, very, very thorough process. Before the Ministry of Labor, and specifically the Commissioner, allows you to recruit any Ugandan, you need to have a valid job order. And that valid job order, before it is approved, there are areas he looks for. One, does the domestic worker have decent living conditions? Were they provided meals? Do they have medical insurance? All that. Secondly, it is clear from the beginning that, one, before you even think about going abroad, seek this information. I've always said that the resident district commissioners have a list of licensed companies.
Commonly known as RDCs.
Yes, and RCCs. please seek this information first. Once you get to know the licensed company, then you can verify.
They have a list of all licensed companies.
Yes, they can verify whether this job order is actually valid or not. With the ministry, it has very many portals, and especially the external employment management system. Their numbers are there. You can contact them at all times or visit the ministry. They'll give you this information. So once all that has been done and the job order has been approved, then that is when now you're allowed to advertise. Because you cannot advertise what you don't have. And if you do that, that is illegal. In fact, we're supposed to also share with the ministry a sample job advert, what we're going to, because there are things they are looking for. For example, the job is free, and that has to be clear. So, Robert, when all that has been done, what we do, we have to interview these particular candidates. One, are they really able to express themselves in the English language? Can they read and interpret their contracts? Because if you cannot interpret your contract, that means in most cases you are going to land in trouble. Because you will say, oh, this one I didn't know, this one I didn't understand. So we do what we call debriefings. We invite them with their next of kin. We take them through in English and other different languages, local languages. And then we ask them, you can have a day or two to think about it, whether you're in agreement or not. If you're not in agreement, it is fine at that point. If you're in agreement, we go ahead. So when that is all done, then the companies are actually able, through the external employment management information system, able to load, the candidate's name, I've skipped the issue of passports and stuff. Of course, that is obvious. Then the ministry is able to actually, once you load the candidate's data, then you choose a training center that gives the orientation that is mandatory, actually. Then you make the payments and stuff like that, so they go for a mandatory 2 weeks training, and this is monitored by the ministry. If someone has not done the training, they cannot be approved to actually travel. So once that is done, they've been approved, then we apply for visas. But before we do that, there are contents that are required, or requirements that are required for you to acquire a visa. For example, there is a medical that we normally call GCC. That medical is supposed to be thorough, to look at issues like, remember the issues of internal organs, kidneys, That medical is thorough, to capture issues like that.
Now you want to open a can of worms.
No, I'm just telling you why we do it, so that they know that actually this person is medically fit to go and work. Once you fail that, then you cannot proceed. For example, if you have a gap that is not natural, like mine, then you're in trouble because you're missing a tooth and you can't travel. Yes, yes. If you have an eye default, for example, you cannot travel. For them, that's a disability. So once you go through that, you're medically fit, then we apply for a visa through the Injazit system and the embassy. Then we get what we call a visa, and then we have the tickets, because those are all paid for. Those are all paid for by the employer. Then this particular candidate travels. I've tried to summarize it, but that's the process. And Robert, I want Ugandans to know, we are only allowed to externalize domestic workers to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, only because it's the only country we have a labor bilateral agreement that is active. Ugandans, I want to resound this. The only country where we are allowed to externalize domestic workers is the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Robert, if people mention things like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, whatever, Qatar, we don't have
Jordan.
Yes, we don't have an active bilateral or active bilateral agreements in those countries to externalize domestic workers. Other job categories, those ones are okay, subject to clearance by the ministry. But domestic workers, no. It is only the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So sometimes it is frustrating when someone posts and they're talking about Dubai, and people don't have this information. It is only the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. If you bring a conversation that is outside
Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia, please, that is a trafficking case, and you should report it immediately to the authorities.
So that we know who took you there,
yes,
how you went there,
right,
and then we have them.
Thank you, Robert.
Behind bars. Now, Commissioner, such an organized system, one question comes to my mind. How do we then have incidents of missing body organs? Because that really tainted. It was very, it made rounds how someone's parts were sold, and then later, I'm not a scientist, but I got to know that there are some people who are born and live with one kidney, according to a report that came out. I didn't do investigative journalism. I chose to leave it at that because I wasn't so much interested then. Now, that is, then also, we see people who reach there. Asha talked about ensuring that this person can read and understand. I've interacted with a number of them that have returned, and they tell you, I never signed up for this. You ask them, I never signed up for this. Then others have said, but you see the definition of a house or a home in Uganda is very different from the definition of a home in Saudi Arabia. It says here you have Chirabo, you have the wife, and there are 2 children.
Right.
Here government is taking us to what they call a home, but instead these are 3 homes. Then government is taking us, the ashes are taking us, where one domestic worker works in 5 homes. This week she's here, the next week she's driven to another home. If you work from here, others will tell you, you have 3 homes, but there are floors. Dad is up, the daughter, and you're one. Now, as a government, have these come to your knowledge? Have we had teams go and find out, one, is the homestead in Uganda that is in the mind of this girl the same homestead? Then this issue of having one domestic worker, but rotating in the entire family. The daughter got married, today you're at her place, the other day you're at the other place. And also these health concerns, because the system seems so organized that it can counter such. Where are the gaps?
Thank you very much, Robert. And the way Asha is doing is not necessarily what is pertaining in all the 406 registered companies. Organized, articulate, and everything is like clockwork. That is really commendable. And these are the kind of people that we really need to work with to pull up others who are not necessarily on the same track as as the law or as the standard operating procedures prescribe. So that's very clear. So in the industry, we have very good, we have also tiers in terms of performance, So if you have the ashes among the top 10% in terms of ethical recruitment, because everything he has talked about is about the ethics in the industry, from pre-engagement, pre-employment, until your return into the country. So it's a circular movement. So that is all about ethics in the recruitment industry. And unfortunately, not everybody is doing that. And then you have, obviously, these people operating in the arcades and the shopping malls and tours and travel, who are ready to take you to Canada or to Germany, to the United States, anytime you want. Those are the traffickers, and they are very articulate, So you have those kind of people. Now, you're going to Bania Square in Dubai, and you find these Ugandan girls who are doing all kinds of trade. Oh, these boys, even at the airport, they are ready to ask you to take your bags and send to Kampala, to Entebbe, and they will pay you $100 or something like that. Those are people who have been trafficked. They have not gone through the ashes. They have not gone through the system. They have not gone into the external employment management information system and searched the companies and searched the jobs. They get there as a tourist. They go there as visitors. We don't close borders. We don't stop issuing passports to Ugandans. They're allowed to travel. Now, they get there because they have a relative called Chirabo in, I don't know, Damam. So let me go and try it out. Now, when they go and get stuff, then government tuyambe. Now, who took you there in the first place irregularly? You know, so you now give us a situation where we have to look for you. We have to speak all the good English we have with the destination country. We have to approach the International Organization for Migration, the UNHCR, to bring you back. I don't know whether you followed the debate. I think it was in Parliament yesterday. These poor Ugandans in Myanmar, you know, Thailand, then they get to
the world
Myanmar.
is wondering how they even get
How
there.
the hell did they get there? I mean, I personally just looked at Myanmar from across the border when I was in Thailand. I mean, that is a very closed society. And how did they get there? Into a business essentially of electronic conmanship. But they're there. I mean, those numbers, I even don't know whether it is correct or not. Myanmar is in a civil war. It's a very difficult terrain. Now, you get there because you avoided the ministry, you avoided the ashes, you found your way, I don't know through which route. But here we are now having to discuss it in Parliament. We have had meetings in the Prime Minister's office over this. Because everybody, first of all, said, no, those are Ugandan migrant workers. It's you people in the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development who are responsible for that. Yes, you are Ugandans, we'll get you back. But see the situation you pushed us in, which could have been very much avoided if you had gone the straight way. So you go through registered companies like Njazi, Axis Warriors, Easy Visa. We are going to get you. Because I know your address. We know you're the employer. We know you are where you are. We can locate you on GPS. You have an issue, you know our numbers, you know you're the one who sent you, you know the numbers of the embassy abroad, you know you are the police, the Ministry of Labor. But if you are making noise in Dubai, you have none of those contacts.
Yes.
And therefore, you will complain, but it's difficult to handle your case immediately.
Now here, this is where I want to bring in Ashe, because at least I asked that to you yesterday. Now with that said, Commissioner, people go through registered companies, and you've just said you know where they are, you can track them on GPS. Now, most of the uncertainties, apart from those who are maybe tortured and all that, and they're just, and maybe their company takes them to another house, there's an issue of contract expiring. And these Ugandans are mandated to return home.
Right.
And they never. Now, when uncertainties happen, Ashe washes his hands clean and says, well, that one true went through my company. Very authoritative because he knows that the law is protecting him, assumably. Says he served a contract of 2 years, it expired. Therefore, you guys of the media, that is none of our business. But there is a clause that says when a person's contract expires, they're supposed to come back home. You who can track people with GPS, how would you fail to know that this contract expired and this person has not come home? Why don't you enforce this return? Because it is mandated by the law to start another process. Ashe.
Thank you very much, Robert, for that very, very good question. Truth of the matter is that, Robert, when these contracts expire, there are two things that normally happen. We have Ugandans who decide to sit down with their employers and have their own small MOU amongst themselves.
Why don't they return,
which is
then
wrong.
go back?
Yes, which is wrong.
I've seen that in Kenya happen.
Yes, yes.
I saw it through this famous girl called Rose, something like that. Much as they wanted her,
yes,
Kenya emphasized that the law says, come home.
Right.
She came home. Right. She's now back.
Yes.
And many.
Robert,
why are we failing?
Robert, thank you very much. It is true, and it happens. Now, the onus is on actually this particular person to come back, because we explain this to them, and even the employers. Now, we have what we call supervisors as companies. We try as much as possible to sensitize, these particular Ugandans. This is what happens if you don't do this. We encourage them. But we also have a small gap somewhere, and this is from the government side. If we had labor attachés, enough of them, they will be able to track, and actually, because now diplomatically they are able, through the embassy, to enforce these things. But now here is where the problem is. If your non-tax revenue of last year is about 25 billion, and the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, for labour issues specifically, it has requested for 5 billion, to plow back into this. And then you give them 2 billion. Do you really think, Robert, they will be able to send enough labour attaches and be able to sort out these issues? They cannot. So now it goes back to the company, I'm afraid. So the commissioner, once this person gets a problem, do you know what the commissioner will say? I sure you took that person, I want this person back in Uganda. As simple as that. Whether this person, their contract expired or not, whatever happened, you're responsible.
I remember you paid the 100 million as security.
Yes.
It is there. If you fail,
so
there's a basket to pick from.
Yes, so it is not a carrot on our side from the ministry. It is not. So it is very, very tough. So we go through our own ways to make sure that we literally encourage them to come back, because we know the repercussions. It is not easy. There is someone, for example, who decided to run away from a house, this particular candidate, and she disappeared for 2 years from one of the companies. This person dies after 2 years, and guess what? All the stick was on the company, because the ministry doesn't have these funds to have all these labour attaches deployed at the moment. So because of that, then everything, the company. And believe me, Robert, we can also punch so much. There's somewhere we can, we reach, and we need the government, to assist us. So my appeal is to the government to kindly use part of that non-tax revenue collected from this sector and plow it back, so that we have enough labour attaches to enforce such things. Otherwise, if you don't do that, Robert, we're going to continue, and the companies will be blamed and blamed over and over. Because the ministry will tell you, for us, we want this Ugandan back. How you do that, we don't care, but we want the Ugandan back.
And the employer there knows very well that now this is a personal agreement.
Exactly.
Right.
When your contract ended, it is personal.
Right.
There is no government, there is no company to hold me accountable. Then they can do anything that they want. So I think our government must quickly, because most of the trouble stems there.
Yeah.
When this girl is still in this home, serving her contract, sometimes there are calls that come, she's not on her own.
Right.
But when she's deceived, and then she remains there, under the mercy now of it is very complicated. Right. I think this is one of the issues, Commissioner, sir, and our government, if you're to prioritize, it should be the quickest issue to deal with.
Absolutely. Robert, totally right. And we took that up in our new the bilateral labor agreement, where we put it categorically that thou shalt not extend your contract unilaterally. And this has been agreed to by the government of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and us, and by extension, the recruitment companies here and the recruitment company abroad, as well as the employer and the migrant worker. So this is the kind of information that has to be put squarely at the stage of orientation.
Right.
Pre-departure orientation to the girl. And we say this, we also visit, apart from they themselves and the trainers, we also visit and we talk to the girls. Please, one, do not extend unilaterally.
Right. Then, because time is running, I also want to ask something very quick, Commissioner. Who is entitled to provide this air ticket?
The air ticket for the domestic workers.
Yes, for the domestic workers.
We have the principle of employer pays it all, meaning the employer abroad pays the recruiter in Uganda, the recruiter in Uganda takes care of the passport, the ticket, the medicals, the visa.
Now I'm talking about when the contract is done.
When the contract is done,
you speak to many who will tell you, we went maybe 100 girls, but about 5 were in touch. For us, we've come back, but so-and-so's boss has not yet paid for her ticket return. So she's
exactly.
Still there.
Now that's wrong. The employer abroad must pay.
Exactly.
For the return, for the for the ticket to be issued to the girl. That is their role. It's not the role of the recruiter anymore. It's the person who is in charge of that person for the 2 years. But the other thing I want us just to on this aspect, we have also contacted the Uganda Regulatory Insurance Authority to look into the issue of insurance, medical insurance. And also insurance around all these other risks, including runaways, including death, including breaches of contract.
Right.
We've worked with them and we've got some very good packages from like Spades Insurance, Lion Insurance, National Insurance Corporation. they have come up with very good packages where the pay that is could be something between 200,000 Uganda shillings for 2 years, 250,000 Uganda shillings for 2 years, and you get all these benefits. Now, these are the kind of things that we would like to put in place. Of course, yes, we will compel you if the girl has run away or if the contract has ended prematurely, but that is what the insurance would now look at. You know, because it's an insurable risk, and companies in Uganda are happy to take up those kind of
well,
risks.
time is not on our side. I'll just give each of you just a minute to conclude, beginning with you, Ashe.
Thank you very much, Robert. I want to resound this. Ugandans, kindly go through proper channels. When you go through proper channels, there is a remedy. We are here as recruiters, and we are answerable for whatever happens once you go through proper channels. I want to resound this again. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is the only country where we are allowed to externalize domestic workers. Nowhere else. Thank you very much.
And Commissioner, as we move out of here.
Lots of things I could say, but as I said, there are still many push factors that will drive people to get out of this country to look for better jobs, better opportunities abroad. But don't be lied to. The grass is not always greener on the other side of the hill. You need to go through the straight and regular channel, as Ashe has said. But I also want to sound this warning. You know, in every situation and in every country, and particularly Uganda, we move with agendas. As you remember, at some point it was about AIDS, then women, then climate change, now youth, then employment. Now it's migration. Why am I saying that? The space is being filled up by a lot of so-called, you know, NGOs, associations, advocates of migrant workers' rights. Now, this is becoming a problem. It's beginning to jeopardize the industry because there are too many voices, and some of these people are beginning to take it personal. They are charging migrant workers a job that we do for free. So I would like to commend particularly Mr. Owere, you know, who was a chairman of NOTU, who has tried to bring these people together to speak with one voice for the benefit of the migrant workers. So I think it's a good job, so that we listen from one voice instead of too many packages of associations, all of them masquerading to be speaking in the names of migrant workers. But otherwise, we are in this together, and I'm really glad you are part of the team of people who are interested in this industry, the Ashes of this world. I wish we could have more of them to make sure that the industry is safe, orderly, and regular.
Well, thank you so much, gentlemen. Commissioner Rollins Wegule, who is in charge of Employment Services, Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, and Ashe Chitandwe, CEO, Njersey Limited. Have a lovely time. Sports updates next. See you in the next hour. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, welcome everyone to the biggest game on the continent.
And you have to. You've got to just seize those moments and enjoy them as much as you possibly can.
Junko. Yo. Wachiko. Check the shopping man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the Parish Development Model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, it is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a poultry project, and now things are moving.
Junko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are,
but you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief, and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government, designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better.
PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
For AR, a ton. He's done that in this league. Led in assists and led in turnovers in the same season. LeBron, count it, and one. First year, played 37 last night, played 48.